Hello there guys and welcome back to my channel for another episode of the summer 2022 transfer news streams, which we only do weekly at the moment, but we will be back to more regular content in about 3 weeks time. But for now, we just have transfer rooms to talk about. And unlike with the Ronaldo news the other day, at least we have some relevant on-the-dot news today, because apparently, according to 3 very reliable sources at the very same time, basically, Chelsea's improved bid for Raheem Sterling from Manchester City is imminent, reportedly. And also, big shocking news earlier this morning. Well, shocking ever so much, but big news, I suppose. This morning, Petr Cech has also left Chelsea Football Club, as has Marina Granovskaia, of course, confirmed last week. But the big difference is, unlike Marina Granovskaia, Petr Cech was asked to stay by Todd Boehly, but decided against it, decided it was the best time for him to step aside, to step down. So that is interesting. And also somewhat minor reports, we'll talk about that to Pies, of course, who will know best, that Juventus might actually be interested in Werner. Well, they would be interested in a swap deal, but they want us to give them more money plus Werner. But they're okay with taking Werner, which is interesting. The one question that I have no answer to at the moment is, does Werner want to go to Juventus? Has anyone asked him yet? Does he fancy that? Or do you know? Because if he doesn't, then all of this doesn't work. So I hope we can find that out reasonably soon. But yeah, and I'm sure there is a lot of other stuff to get through. Of course, Cristiano Ronaldo linked to Chelsea the other day. We'll talk about that quickly as well. But first of all, let me introduce my wonderful guests. Actually, before that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter. Why don't you? At Laos1507. I mean, why don't I have the banner up? That I should have that up. And we did have the fancy underlying thing earlier, but then the bottom line didn't really look so nice. But it's just at Laos1507 on Twitter. And retweet this tweet, share it to more people, so we get more people in, new subscribers. And subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the like button. But let me get to my wonderful guests. Charlie, let me start with you. It's not that long since I was in your stream on Saturday, but things have actually developed a little bit since then. But how you been? Is it hot in England, or is it just hot here? Because I am flipping boiling.
No, mate, all good. Yeah, things have accelerated a little bit since we spoke a couple of days ago. Not so hot here, but it's all good. Yeah, mate, to be honest, I'm surprised at how quickly things are starting to move at Chelsea. It's, from a fan perspective, we said before, it's frustrating when you see other teams doing stuff, getting stuff done seemingly quickly, when it seems that Chelsea, all they ever seem to do is monitor Tuchel's a fan of so-and-so, imminent bids coming without actually really doing anything. But it looks like Boehly's kind of accelerating things along a little bit. And hopefully this week, I've seen things potentially that Sterling could be wrapped up as soon as the end of this week, potentially. But so that would be nice. Pre-season starting, end of this week, start of next week. So it'd be nice to get one in the door before then. Can't really think of any more than that taking place. But yeah, mate, it's a slow burner, but Boehly's, he's moving as quickly as he can. Meetings with Mendes, obviously prominent agent within the footballing space, clear out at boardroom level as well. Him and giving Tuchel a lot of responsibility, what fans have always wanted. So now those same fans that wanted Tuchel to be backed and have more of a say can't now moan when they don't like the players that he's sort of selecting, etc. So you can't have it both ways. But yeah, mate, exciting times ahead, I think. I think finally, after a few frustrating weeks, I think that, we've got things to look forward to on the horizon. And hopefully Sterling, whilst, in my opinion, not the most exciting, it's an upgrade on what we've got for sure.
Oh, no, I do agree. It is definitely an upgrade. Also, big up Jerry in the chat. We will also talk about the Dembele news that has come out, whether that will mean Chelsea he could still come to Chelsea or not. We will see. Pice, thank you to you as well for coming on, as always, mate. Would you agree with Charlie that things have started to kick on a little bit and accelerate a little bit over the last couple of days?
Yeah, I guess so. I put a tweet out last night which I said, all the articles are great that Chelsea expect to do this, we expect to spend that, Todd's doing this, Todd's doing that, he's flying around his private jet. I think this is the week, though, this week and next week, we actually have to put bids in. It's got to be time for action now. Bids have to go in. As Charlie said, he's trying to work as quickly as he can. He's not officially, a qualified sporting director, I guess, but I guess he kind of has to be, because I don't suppose you can just throw yourself in a role. I'm sure you have to have some sort of it's got to be legal implications, right? To be a sporting director, surely.
If you
Yeah,
own
I
the
mean,
thing, it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want.
yeah, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it's just come out. One of the Man City reporters, very, very reliable, said that Todd Boehly has contacted City today about Raheem Sterling. Um, I mean, I think it's going to be quite a lot of money, honestly. Everyone got excited about the whole 35 million thing, but I expect it, to be honest, to be more 45 to 50. I think that's probably what he is worth. I mean, especially when you see Gabriel Jesus going for 45. I mean, Sterling's been a much more important part to the City team than Gabriel Jesus. So I expect a few Chelsea fans to be moaning about the price when it goes through. But at the end of the day, I do think Sterling is exciting. I think he's a very good player, and I think he's a massive upgrade on what we've got. And it's good to hear that Tuchel has been phoning Sterling as well. Yeah, there's been a few bits come out. Just think this week again with De Ligt, that's going to be interesting as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this week.
There you go. No, I do agree. I mean, it's a tough one, really. I don't really know how to put it, but you know what? Before I get into that, because the price of Sterling, I don't know, does it really matter to us as fans that much? Whether it's, I don't know, 40 or 50 million? I mean, yeah, sure, but it's like, do you know what I mean? Within that realm, does it really matter? But Clutch, I will take that question to you alongside everything else that's been going on. First of all, thank you for coming on as always, mate. So yeah, what do you think about that? Does it make much of a difference to you whether it's like 40 million or 50 million that he costs?
Always a pleasure. In a sense, it kind of has to, because it just depends on the budget that you're trying to spend. You spend 50 million here or 60 million here, that could take away from other places that you may need, depending on, I mean, it's fractional numbers at this point, because you need a lot of different positions. Who knows how much the Ligt is going to end up costing you? 70 plus 60 is 130. Say we have a $200 million transfer budget. That's 70 left to play with 4 other positions that we want to cover.
I can't imagine it's going to be £70 million for
player sales as well, bro. Like, I think that can,
Yeah, but we also, I mean, the sales that we've been hearing about are Ziyech, who Milan are only willing to pay for a $5 million loan now with an obligation to buy for $20 million later. So we're not going to be getting a lot of money off of these player sales. I really don't think that's how it's going to work right now. There's a lot of things I think we have to just relax with right now. I know it's frustrating, and I know we got a preseason starting literally in 2 weeks' time, but I think it's all about, like, we need to realize that this was never going to be easy, and it was never going to be a quick process. It was always going to be a slow burn. But from everything we know, Sterling will probably end up being done, probably our first signing. But yeah, it's just the money, I think, does make some difference in the end, but it's just how much do you want to play, or how much do you want to improve? I mean, that's just the kind of the things City don't, even though City have unlimited funds, they don't really look at the price. They think, does this guy fit? Or I'll even use Liverpool. They're probably a better example. They paid $100 million for a player who they believe is going to take them to the next level. Whether anybody else believes it, that's not for them to say. That's for Liverpool to say. So if Chelsea are willing to spend 50 on Sterling, hey, that's them. That's what they think is going to catapult them to the next level.
There you go. I mean, not quite, like, I understand what you're saying, but to me, it's a case of, if the club is willing to pay a certain amount of money, they know which other players they want as well, right? And whether they spend 10 million less on Sterling won't mean they will sign an extra player that we would like as fans, if the club aren't going for that, right? So I don't think the club would spend more on Sterling if that means they can't get the others that they really want. Like, they won't then in the end say, if only we spent 10 million less on Sterling, then we could have gotten this extra player. I think there's enough foresight for that. Like, I'm not saying there's incredible amounts of foresight, but what I'm saying is, or we might not always agree with all the players we go after. So what I'm saying by that is, maybe we would like more than what we're going for, but I don't think whether we spend 10 million more or less will change whether we try to sign another player or not. Do you know what I mean with that? But yeah, that's my perspective on it. Before we actually get into a bit of a deep dive into the whole Sterling topic, I do actually want to talk about Petr Cech leaving Chelsea first and foremost. Now, it's a very interesting situation in my opinion. Like I said earlier in the intro, he was reportedly asked by Todd Boehly to stay and has decided against staying. Now, I'm not sure what everybody else thinks, and I will ask you guys about it now, because to me that is slightly worrying, because the fact that he was asked and decided against it, why would he do that? Like, unless he has a bad feeling about what's going on, why would he choose against that? Do you know what I mean? I mean, if someone has a logical explanation that would make sense, I'm happy to hear it, and that might change my mind. But I can't, as of now, think of a logical explanation for that. So, like, it doesn't really compute with me, if I'm honest. I mean, Pice, what do you think about that? Do you see where I'm coming from with that? Like, obviously, I'm not saying it necessarily makes everything at Chelsea go bad. But if Cech has a bad feeling, maybe we should have a bad feeling. I'm not sure. Or do you have an explanation of why he could have left, other than because he doesn't have a good feeling about it?
The first thing I will say is what was reported earlier on today. And Nizar said that obviously Cech and Marina, they wanted to keep Lukaku, and apparently there was an early disagreement with Todd Boehly about that, as we found out. So I don't know, maybe they had a small argument or something. Who knows? Like, we don't really have too much detail, to be honest with you. Maybe he's been given less power. Maybe he just doesn't want to stay on for the short term. He doesn't see any use in that. I don't know. There's lots of different plausible opinions on it, I guess. But to be honest with you, if he had a bad feeling about what was going on, I'm pretty sure we would have heard something about, what Tuchel thinks as well by now, because what we was told in the media was that he really likes his sporting structure, and if it's all getting destroyed, and that can easily lead to even him walking out. So
but if Tuchel likes Boehly as well, then
yeah, I know, but I don't imagine if those reports are true. I don't imagine that Tuchel would be too happy with all of these people leaving. Maybe one, but Cech going, Marina going, Butt going, Guy Lawrence going. Like, it's a whole shape up. And I remember Tuchel saying a few months ago that he is open to change. So look, let's see. I don't think it's too deep, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm just going to say I don't know, because I honestly, I don't know what the reason he is actually left for. That's all I can say. I can have plausible opinions and reasons why, but no one really knows. It's just he's leaving. So
there you go. But does it worry you at all, or do you see it as a
not
kind
really
of part of the expected transition that is only happening a little bit earlier than we maybe all expected?
Yeah, I kind of think it's part of the expected transition, because at the end of the day, he's still involved with the old structure, and Boehly clearly wants a new structure. So, Nazar said in his report that
but
it's not surprising.
To stay, though.
Yeah, but maybe, like, with how hands-on Boehly is with the transfers, maybe Cech's just like, well, I don't know, maybe Cech wants the power. I don't know. We'd got told that he had been negotiating with Marina. So if Marina's lost her job or is leaving, and then Cech's probably thinking, well, why should I stay? I was working with Marina and she's gone. So I don't know. There's lots of different ways you could put it, to be honest with you. And until information comes out of the club,
wouldn't you find it strange if Cech had more loyalty towards Marina than to Chelsea Football Club? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's why I find it worrying.
I don't know. He said in a statement, Petr Cech said that he believes now is the right time to leave with the change of ownership. So maybe he just doesn't see himself working in that structure. Maybe he's a long-term guy, maybe he doesn't think short-term. And also Marina is staying, right? She's still there in some sort of advisory role or something at the moment. So
she's not,
I don't know,
staying, is she? But
she's not staying, but she's staying at the moment because she's still
basically there. They're allowed to call her, essentially.
Yeah, like she's still she's not gone out the door, not contactable. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't really
good. Like it doesn't sound like there's been any overly bad blood between anybody.
Cech's always been a weird one for me, because no one really knows. Like, we've not actually had too much information on him since the day he joined, to be honest with you. We got told he's been, key in transfer negotiations. I'm sure he does calls and stuff because he speaks so many different languages. But it's been quite quiet, We never actually thought a few months ago he was involved in transfers, and then all of a sudden, this technical performance thing is actually not really true, and he's involved in transfers. So God knows what
But we
goes
did
beyond
kind of
that,
get a
so-
gist of that when we had that him and Lampard together flew out to Germany, of course, because he speaks German. I understand that, but once you're
But
involved,
even
in
that
one
was
and
a
it's
shock,
successful,
right?
why wouldn't?
Even-
Yeah. But that's 2
Even
years.
that
ago.
was a shock. We was like, well, so they've given him this title, but he could have. No one really knows because we're not there. I would love to see what had happened over the last sort of couple of weeks. I really would.
Yeah,
Especially in the
100%.
meetings between Marina and Boehly, to be honest. But I think Marina's more of a clear-cut one. Obviously, she was running the transfers. Boehly wants to run it. He wants a new sporting director. So bye-bye. I think
Marina
everyone was
also makes
expecting
more sense, because she was kind of a Roman Abramovich associate,
Yeah,
first and
yeah.
foremost, right? And Roman obviously sold the club. So that's not the biggest surprise that even if she was given the choice, that maybe she would have decided for leaving. Like that was always a real possibility. Even if Boehly would have preferred to keep her, it would have still been a possibility that she would have just decided to leave, right? But Chelsea is not a Roman Abramovich associate. Petr Cech is not a Roman Abramovich associate. He's a Chelsea associate, really, and that didn't change. Chelsea is still Chelsea. So, yeah. But let me take it to you, Clutch. What do you think about that one? Do you think find it at all worrying?
A little. I mean, it's strange for sure. I think there could be many reasons. Maybe Cech has gotten used to the way the club has run over the last couple of years. Maybe a change in the way that Boehly wants to run it versus how Roman did, where Roman just kind of let Marina and Cech and Buck do their thing. He rarely interfered and rarely made decisions. I think maybe that could have had it. Maybe he's losing power with Boehly coming in, wanting to change things. Who knows? I mean, it could be a million different things. I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, I don't even know what the guy did other than help us get Mendy. I mean, he scouted Mendy, which fair play, good job.
But he was part of talking to Werner and Kai because of the German translation stuff.
Fair enough. Well, I guess the Werner is a negative and Kai is a positive, but they offset each other. But it is what it is. I mean, until we know more, it's a little worrying that Boehly's not going to do all these things on his own. That's a little worrying, but other than that, like until we know more, I wouldn't speculate too hard, and I wouldn't go too off the deep end with it. It could just be Boehly's planning a new type of way things are done, and they don't agree with it. And hey, that's how it is. That's sometimes jobs. That's how you do it. But we'll see.
Fair enough. I mean, just to read
Laurenz,
out
can I just say, Di Marzio's just tweeted that Chelsea are in the race for Skriniar now as well. So
but we're in the race for bloody everyone. These Italians, they just love talking about Chelsea. I feel like Chelsea just got to give a lot of clicks in Italy. It must be. Like they talk about us way. Like, how can we be linked to every Italian centre back or every centre back in Serie A? I swear. Like Bremer, Koulibaly, De Ligt,
they want to
Skriniar, Bastoni.
Chelsea asked for information when obviously the Lukaku deal. Apparently, there's now a will to deepen the discussion over a possible transfer. So it's interesting. Yeah.
There you go. Hey, it is what it is. Let me just read this quickly. The statement by Cech that was part of the statement that Chelsea released this morning. It has been a huge privilege to perform this role at Chelsea for the past 3 years. With the club under new ownership, I felt now is the right time for me to step aside. I am pleased that the club is now in an excellent position with the new owners, and I'm confident of its future success both on and off the pitch. Todd Boehly and chairman and co-controlling owner said, Petr is an important member of the Chelsea family. We understand his decision to step away and thank him for his contributions as an advisor and his commitment to the club and to our community. We wish him the best. Again, I find it a bit of a shame. I find it a little bit worrying, again, if I'm honest. But Charlie, what do you think? Do you find it worrying at all that he just decided to leave on his own accord after being asked to stay?
Not really, to be honest, man. I think it's part and parcel of a transition period, and new ownerships coming in, new ideas, new ways of doing things, probably want their own people on board. Yes, Boehly would be more than happy for Cech to stay for the remainder of the window because it slightly lessens his workload, which is quite large at the moment. But to be honest, mate, I don't think it's something to be worried about. I'm not saying that Cech didn't do anything. Of course, he was involved in things, obviously, as Clutch said, instrumental in bringing Mendy to the club. But in terms of day-to-day stuff, no one, as Pice said as well, no one really knows what Cech was doing, really. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to miss him because we might well do, but I don't think this is as big a problem or as a shock as some people might think. At the end of the day, whether he goes at the end of this week or whether he goes at the end of the transfer window, I don't really think it makes much difference. And he probably thinks, you know what, I'm leaving anyway. I might as well just leave now. And it's also, I also feel that Cech obviously loves Chelsea, etc. Legend as a player. He's well associated with the club. I don't think he'd leave if this was going to put Chelsea in a bad position. You know, he might know things that another sporting director's lined up, maybe Mitchell, Edwards, the guy from Atletico Madrid. You know, someone could be imminently lined up, and Cech knows he's on his way out anyway.
Because I agree with you, actually. I don't think it will make that much of a difference in terms of how the club actually works, whether things work well or badly. I don't think it will have an impact on because he is there or not there. I just think him being someone that's in the loop and in the know, him someone that's, well, first of all, played at the club for over a decade and then came back to work for the club. For someone like that to decide against staying at the club when being offered that role, I just find, less because I think he's that good that we so badly require him. I just find it doesn't have a good look if someone like that decides not to stay. Like, why would you not stay? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe, but then again, you know, Boehly's got his own ideas, his own way of doing things, etc. You know, Cech might just feel that actually he gets on well with Boehly, no problem, but Boehly's way of doing things perhaps doesn't suit how Cech likes to work, and it could just be something as simple as that. I think it's, you know, important not to get too drawn into it and think, oh, maybe Cech's leaving because, you know, shit's about to hit the fan, etc. I just think that, you know, it might just be a simple case of new owners are in. He's kind of part of the old regime. It's kind of time for him to move on, perhaps go and pursue something different, allow Boehly to bring his own person in. I don't think it's a case of like, oh, Boehly's, you know, bringing some strange structure in. I don't like the look of this at all. I think it's just, you know, as Clutch says, you know, this things happens in all walks of life, or all sorts of jobs. New people come in. Certain people might not like the way that things are done, and that's fine, and people move on. So I don't think it's something to worry about too much. And I do think that obviously it's no surprise that Chelsea are looking for a football sporting director with a few names in the list. So yeah, for me, it's always disappointing to see a legend leave. You know, such a great guy, but ultimately, I don't think this is something to worry about too much.
There you go, fair play. Now, I mean, you definitely could be right, and I hope you are, essentially. And I hope I'm wrong with that. I find it looks a little bit strange, like I say. And I might even change that opinion over the next few days, you know, depending on what other things we read and hear and see. But yeah, now, my initial reaction at least. Now, let's take it back to Raheem Sterling before we have the discussion about Matthjis De Ligt and Timo Werner and stuff. Now, obviously, we spoke about already, like the bid is imminent, but Pies, do we have any idea what size of bid we're talking about here? Because, I mean, we just spoke about who's involved in transfers and stuff. Marina, and to some extent, I presume Petr Cech, were involved in this, you know, opening the whole conversation between ourselves and Man City for Raheem Sterling. And we're reportedly the ones that made that slightly embarrassing £25 million offer for him that obviously was declined. But do we have any sort of idea what this next bid could be? Do we think this is the bid that will do it? Or do we think this is just another bid in the process before we actually bid high enough to get it done?
I mean, I don't know. First off, no, there's no information yet about the size of the bid from anyone. I have a feeling it's going to be something like 40 million or something, and they'll go, no, we want more like 50, and then maybe the second bid gets it done. But because I don't think, like, if you go straight in there, look, with a £50 million bid, they might be like, oh, Todd's got a bit of money, you know, maybe we ask for 60 or something. But I think obviously we had an informal bid. It wasn't like a formal. Apparently it was through intermediaries. So I don't even know like what that type of bid is. That kind of confused me, to be honest with you.
It's probably a case of you talk to them on the phone and they're like, and you ask, well, would you consider selling him for 25 million? And they're like, no. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know.
I assume that's how it goes.
What Fabrizio said was it was more like, from what I understood, it was more like we told an intermediary what we were going to bid, then they told City, and then they were like, no, and then the intermediary got back to us. Almost like a third party, whereas this today has come out as actual like formal contact, so someone on City's board, I'm guessing. But yeah, I think I don't know. I don't think the first bid that we're preparing now is going to do it. But who knows? Like, I mean, with what Boehly's doing at the moment, he may offer like 40 million and Malang Sarr or something. Like, guys like offering mad swap deals. But
mate, my guy loves a trade, man. My guy loves a trade. There you
go.
go.
I wouldn't even want to give Malang Sarr to Pep. I'm sure Pep could probably make him into some sort of
make us with the clowns again, flipping it. I mean, MKZ Stars here says Cech wanted to keep Lukaku and doesn't want to sign De Ligt. Clearly, a disagreement of some sort. which is a fair assumption to make. But clearly, that disagreement, if that's the reason for the departure, set worse with Cech than it did with Boehly, because Boehly still asked him to stay even, over the disagreement, essentially. So I'm not sure if those disagreements on opinions of who to sign are necessarily the main reasons. But hey, I prefer to get rid of Lukaku. The only reason I would have liked to keep Lukaku is to make him rot in the reserves, but not for any good reason, right? So, and Cech and Marina definitely would have wanted to keep him for a good reason. So I'd rather he's gone than that. So I'm a bit confused why they wanted that. Maybe to not look silly for what they did last year. I don't know. It's a tough one to call. But yeah, if we don't really know what the bid is going to be, obviously we've discussed Raheem Sterling quite in a lot of length already last week. But you weren't on here, Charlie. I mean, we might have discussed it on your channel, but we have discussed it from your perspective on this channel. Now, let me ask you, would you be a fan of Raheem Sterling? Would you be a fan of him in every position? Would he just be on the wing? Would you like him up top or not? I remember, I think on your channel, you said you wouldn't be a fan of him as a false nine. And in general, do you see it as a good sign? Do you see it as a signing that's good enough for us to say, okay, yeah, we went for a proper player here? Or do you think it's us kind of not cheaping out, is maybe the wrong word, but not going as big as we could and maybe should have done in that position?
I don't know. I've warmed to this transfer a little bit more as the links and stuff have intensified. At the start, when it was first sort of touted, I was like, I'm not so sure about this. But now I've kind of swung around to it a little bit more. I mean, it's not the most exciting in my opinion. I'm not saying I think Sterling's a great player. He's been phenomenal for Manchester City. All right, his output might have trailed off a little bit over the past 18 months, 2 seasons, but he's still been very important part of City's last couple of titles. Obviously, without his contribution from the bench on the last day of the season, City would have Liverpool as champions. So, he makes a difference. The guy's got a good goal scoring record for sure. He makes things happen. He's direct. He's 27 years of age in his prime. He's got. In Premier League, in wingers in the Premier League, I think he's third on the all-time scoring list or something. He's got over 100 goals. 27 years of age, in the prime of his career, really close.
I think it might only be Salah and Mane that are ahead of him.
Yeah,
or is it only Salah and Mane just behind him?
Yeah, and an established England international, and we've seen what he did in Southgate's terrible system. He single-handedly pretty much took England to the Euros final. So, do you know what?
And like Salam says, it can't be worse than Werner. I agree.
Well, exactly. It can't be. But then this is Chelsea Football Club, so you never know. But I like it, but it's on the premise that he needs to play wide, because for me, he's not a centre forward. Look, as we said, mate, when we spoke on Saturday, I've got no problem with him if he drops into that false nine for 5-10 minutes and we're interchanging throughout a game. That's fine. Or if he plays it, in a cup match or whatever. But I don't want him to be brought in as a and his main position, he's going to play false nine, because we can do that. We can do better than that.
We have Havertz there. I'm not saying Havertz is amazing and incredible and the be-all and end-all and a guaranteed starter, but certainly more so than Callum Hudson-Odoi, Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, and in my opinion also Christian Pulisic. Clutch might slightly disagree with that, but I would say most people would agree.
I think
that doesn't necessarily mean he's right.
I'm seeing him getting a lot of disrespect. This is not just some average player. This guy has got a phenomenal record. Now, he might not be the most exciting, etc. And people think, if City are happy to get rid of him, or he can't be that good. City have got ridiculous quality, and if he's not going to sign a new deal, then they'd rather get 45-50 million pounds for him now. So just because City are selling him doesn't mean he's shitting. It doesn't mean that he's not going to improve us.
That's a good point as well. City actually don't even want to let him go. They offered him a new contract. So it's like us with Rudiger. It's like, well, if you're not going to sign, buy then. They can at least sell him.
No, not quite.
Yeah, it is. It's the same thing, bro. At least they can sell him, though. Yeah, we want Rudiger to stay. City want Sterling to stay in an ideal world.
But the reason Sterling isn't accepting the contract extension, though, is because he wants more game time.
But he's not going to get that. It won't. Yeah, that's the thing.
That's why it's not.
Yeah, because it's with Haaland coming and Alvarez, and they might sign with Jesus and Sterling going. City will probably have to bring someone else in that wide area as well. He's probably thinking, I could stay, but I'm not going to play as much as I want to. So I actually respect him for thinking at 27 years of age, where he's got nothing really to prove in the Premier League or to prove in the game. In all honesty, yes,
and he
wants
knows
that
with
Champions.
Pep he ain't winning the Champions League anyway.
Yeah,
so
he all that's missing is a Champions League trophy. So I rate it for him, to leave City and to come to Chelsea, new challenge and prove himself again, because it would have been easy for him just to sign a new deal and just, play 20, 25 games a season at City and pick up the league most years. So I actually rate his ambition that he's happy to leave that comfort zone and come and give it a crack at Chelsea. So I think he gets disrespected massively as a player. To be fair, I've probably disrespected him quite a lot in the past, but yeah, I've kind of warmed to it. And I think the most important thing is it improves on what we've got. And that's what we need to do.
100%. Big ups on the road, by the way. Not quite. Probably going to be trying that one because, I like pies and I like my own life. But, certain individuals, let me not say too much, shall we say, all right? But what he said at the start of that very message, close to 200 watching, actually 212 watching right now, and only 30 likes. Are you mental? Have you not learned how these streams work now? You come here, we provide the content, we have a little chat, you listen, you have a good time, and in return, you click the like button. That's how it goes. You don't have to pay or nothing. You don't have to tip. All you have to do is press the like button. I mean, if you want to tip and use the super chat function in the chat, you can. But what I need you to do is smash the like button and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Clutch, anything you would like to add on the Raheem Sterling stuff that you haven't said last week? Maybe have yourself, I don't know, have you changed your opinion potentially in the last week, or has it kind of largely remained the same?
I will say I was not here last week.
Oh, yeah, that is true. So I am very sorry. I forget. So I will ask you to elaborate your opinion as well. I know your opinion because obviously we talk in a group chat, but I don't think we've told our audience yet. So please go.
I mean, he's a good player. Anybody thinks he's not a good player, that's just crazy. I think he's probably the most realistic option that we can get if we're looking for like a proven Premier League goal scorer. His wages are going to be a little bit of a concern, depending. Hopefully, it's not in the range, more like 220, 250 in that range. But again, who knows what that's going to end up being. I have this feeling that if he does come, which I do think he'll end up coming, we will have him as a false nine at some point. I do think that will end up happening, which, like you guys have said, I don't really want. But who knows? I like the signing to a degree. I think he is going to be the best option you can get because we tried the big center forwards. Doesn't work. We need goal scorers, and he's a goal scorer. It's just what's that front three going to look like? Because like you guys have said in the past, without Dembele, Sterling is not going to do a lot for himself. He's a guy who likes the tap-ins. He's always in the right position for a goal like that. So let's just see what happens. I think it's a good signing. I think he would be fine, but a lot of worries behind it also.
Fair play. And A7 Techers, don't talk to Eunice particularly regularly. I can't lie. Used to, more so back in the day, but less so now. But we'll see what we can do. Maybe we'll have Nini on Sunday as well. We've been trying to figure something out. Hasn't quite happened yet, but we'll see whether we can make that happen someday. But yeah, by the way, interesting thing. Ross Barkley posted on Instagram today that he's in Rome. Could he be joining Jose Mourinho? Who knows? Jose, please come on. Agent Chelsea.
Or Sarri.
Sorry?
Or Sarri. He could be great.
To be fair, yeah.
He played better under Sarri, didn't he? He was all right.
He did, to be fair, yeah. In my head, when someone says Rome, I just think of Roma. I know Lazio is there, obviously, but I think of Roma first, and I sometimes forget about Lazio. But yeah, sorry, Maurizio. I forgot. But yeah, it might be either of the two. Now, let's quickly have a little chat about the Cristiano Ronaldo to Chelsea stuff. I mean, it ain't happening number one anyway, but like Charlie said a little earlier, I think Boehly had a conversation with Jorge Mendes, who is obviously agent of Cristiano Ronaldo, and some others, including Rafael Leao and some other big players around the world. But yeah, apparently we were kind of offered Ronaldo, but it was reported we are unlikely to pursue it. Now, obviously, it made news. Everyone was like talking about it. Even I was talking about it. Now, would I have wanted Ronaldo? Not really, if I'm honest. Now, I know some people call me crazy for this. You've got no ball knowledge. How can you ever say no to the greatest player in the world? Number one, he's 37. Number two, look at the two clubs he's gone to in the last 4 years and what happened to them after. Juve won the league 8 times in a row or 9 times in a row, signed him, won it one more time, and are absolutely in the mud now. Manchester United finished second and were like building up to finally challenging for a title again. He joins, becomes 7th or 6th. nearly 7th. Like, yeah, I know he scored 18 goals. That's all well and good, right? And what? Like, it's not. If you think football is all about goals, then you haven't understood football, because everyone can score 18 goals. If we don't care about conceding 700, then we'll just put all of our 11 players in the opposition's box and we'll score some goals. But we'll just concede too many, right? So it's not just about scoring goals. But obviously for the brand exposure, especially for what Boehly's trying to do, increase and just improve the brand that is Chelsea Football Club, for that it would have been a huge deal. Like, whether that's in social media, whether that's in potential sponsorship deals, but in anything, absolutely ginormous. Also, the fact that it would be hilarious to piss off Man United fans just because, their GOAT and their hero obviously came back after all these years where they made him, and now then he left them again because they were too shit. I mean, like, it would be funny. And also the fact that some people could buy a Ronaldo kit, Chelsea kit with Ronaldo on the back. I understand it, but I don't think it would have actually been their best idea for Chelsea. And I don't even mean that financially, actually, because a move like that, a player that's that big to sign a player like that, wouldn't be a financial problem. Like, he would easily make that money back, all of it, whether the transfer fee, wages, he make all of that comfortably back. That's not the problem. The problem is just everything that stays around. In my opinion, I understand that other people have different opinions. Now, I know Pice and Charlie both have a different opinion on this. I think Clutch is more on my side of this. So then we got intermediates between us, I guess, to give our opinions. Why don't we start with you, Pice? Yeah, you were heavily against myself when I said, you were like, are you meant to? How can you not want Ronaldo?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I may have got caught up in the hype a little bit, because when it dropped, I was like, oh my God, there's surely no way. Like,
yeah.
It would be.
I understand that too.
It would be extremely exciting. I do get your point of, like, to be honest, in terms of like the pressing, I get it, but he still does press. It's just not like, I kind of get your point of, like, it kind of would be like almost like a Lukaku. Like, we've been linked to all these pressing, small, nimble attackers, good dribblers, fast, fluid front three, and then you sign Ronaldo. It's kind of like the opposite of what we're planning to do, but. I don't know, man. Like, it's Ronaldo. Like, there's a bit in me. Like, how can you say no to that? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, I don't really get your point of, like, the whole look at the other two clubs, because at the end of the day, Chelsea aren't gonna collapse if Ronaldo joined. I think we'd probably just get
collapse,
better,
but we could have we've had bad seasons without signing anyone mental like that. Like, Conte, all of a sudden we're 5th. Even this season, like, we drop off anyway.
But how does that correlate to Ronaldo's fault, though? If he joined Chelsea,
the whole structure in the team, because so you want to play a certain way. You would know for a fact that Thomas Tuchel wouldn't be asking for Cristiano Ronaldo, right? So that's already one part why it wouldn't be ideal, because Tuchel would definitely not be asking for it. So that would already be one part of the problem, because then, so do we back the manager? Does he have to control or does he not? So that's already a problem, like Lukaku was a year ago, apparently. Or in the end, it turns out that way. That it was a problem. I mean, in the end, Lukaku left because Tuchel and Boehly, Tuchel didn't want him. Boehly just wanted to do what Tuchel wanted. Marina and Cech wanted to keep him, and now they're out the door. So just that in and of itself should tell me I don't want anyone that Tuchel doesn't want, because that can cause all sorts of drama, right? And then if Tuchel, again, like he did with Lukaku, changes the playing style to Ronaldo, then Ronaldo, number one, isn't going to work, and we're still going to be complaining why we don't have a striker that works as well as we want. And then we're not complaining about Lukaku, who cost a lot, but he's at least not one of the best players ever. If we're the first club, imagine, if we're the first club where Ronaldo doesn't do well, like, you don't want that. Like, do you know what I mean? And strikers don't do well at Chelsea Football Club. So I don't want to risk that. I can't lie. Like, to me, it's just, there's too much risk involved. But hey, I understand that other people have different opinions. Sorry, Pies, I cut you off a little bit there. Go on if you have.
No, I don't know. I don't want to say it's impossible for him to flop at Chelsea, but, like, it's Ronaldo.
We said Lukaku was impossible to flop last year.
Even I don't know. I don't know. Even with, like, Reece James's crossing and cutbacks, and, like, he's the best header of the football in the world. Like, he would at least surely get, like, 10, 15 goals off crosses alone, surely. But I don't know. I get both sides. I get both sides of the argument. I do get.
He might even score more for us than he did for United. I wouldn't even be surprised. But
yeah, no, I
want to press, and then he doesn't get it the way he wants it. Then is that really beneficial in the long term for what we're trying to do?
No, I get both points of the argument. I just think there's certain opportunities and exceptions you make for certain players, and I don't know if Lukaku was one. Maybe he should have been, being £100 million, but.
But Pies, can I ask you
I
then,
don't know.
what do you think went so wrong at United compared to not this past season, but the one before, where they finished second, and then they were
Yeah, but wasn't the
trying
league
to,
shit that
improve
season
in the
anyway?
title challenge?
Wasn't the league
What do you
shit
think
that
is the
season
main
anyway?
thing that happened?
That was the COVID season where it was all training ground matches. So there was no fans in there. That weren't really a proper representation. United were never the second best team. They were dog shit.
That is true. That is true. No, I don't disagree with that. But it's still, they were also not the sixth, maybe seventh best team. They were better than that still. Like, do you know what I mean?
The second when they finished under Mourinho, you're talking about then?
No, they finished second under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in
in the COVID year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't remember that
in
one
the
too much, to be honest.
2021 season, that must have been, yeah.
Wasn't that the season we won the Champions League then?
Yes, that very season.
Yeah, Liverpool had everybody who ever mattered and needed. They were all injured that season. We had the manager switch, and that was basically just City running away with it.
Not behind Tottenham, who were near the relegation. So when they appointed Antonio Conte in December, and still finished loads ahead.
Is that the season where Liverpool were playing?
I think they did.
Williams at centre back.
Yeah,
they did that season. Yeah,
they did Conte,
and we still finished behind Liverpool. So let's not. Do you know what I mean?
That was when they did Mourinho.
Yeah.
What?
That's when Tottenham hired Mourinho. Was that year?
Yeah. No. But this season, they still how did it go from that still to as bad as being behind Tottenham, who were so bad that they sacked the manager in December or November, that they only appointed in that very summer past, right? And United still finished behind that team. Do you know how bad you've got to be compared to coming second? Even if there were some reasons why you were maybe second rather than third or fourth, that still doesn't make you sixth, nearly seventh. So something still had to drastically go wrong there for it to happen like that, right? And what was the biggest thing that happened there? Well, think about it. And what happened at Ronaldo? I was literally talking to a Juve fan the other day where they were like, well, Ronaldo was great individually and scored goals, bangers left, right, centre, but it ruined the team. The whole team didn't play football properly anymore. That's what happened to them.
United fans says that.
Look at Austria can play football under Ralf Rangnick, and Man United can't. You can't tell me that the players are worse than Austria play. That's impossible. Something is wrong there, and they came second the season before, so it clearly wasn't always wrong.
I think it's just ego club FC.
With United,
they all have an ego.
It's not just Ronaldo. There's so many players that just don't want to work there at all. I think 10 Hag's going to be.
I'm not saying it's just his.
I think 10 Hag's going to be a disaster there as well.
Difference. Because the other players were all there before.
Hasn't he been the captain for half the games?
Sorry, he absolutely doesn't. How have you come to that idea? Ronaldo can't play possession football. Name me one team Ronaldo's played that play possession football. One. Alex Ferguson's Man United counter-attack for the most part. Real Madrid, under every manager, counter-attack for the most part. Juventus, everyone in Italy only counter-attacks. So and Man United only counter-attack. So how can Ronaldo fit our system? I don't understand this at all. Sorry. Lost my shit a little bit there. But anyway, he fits our system better than United's. That might be fair. Well, does he? I'm not even sure, to be honest. It's just United's a bit shit. But anyway, let me take it to Clutch before I let Charlie give a more in-depth answer on his opinion on that, because Ronaldo isn't even happening. So I'm not sure why we're spending this much time talking about it. But hey, it's Ronaldo, I guess. But Clutch, go on.
I mean, I feel the same as you. I think it would be a problem. I mean, obviously, he's still, and I'm going to say this, the second best player who's ever lived. Not the first, because that's Messi. But he's still one of the best players that's ever lived.
It's not second either, but sure.
I'm not starting that. But yeah, I think he would be a bad option because, I mean, we talk about Tuchel wants players that are going to press. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do the pressing that Kai will do. He's not going to do the pressing that Mason's going to do. So you're just going to have another guy who's going to be out there. He might press every once in a while, but that's not what you want. That's not what Tuchel wants, right? That's why we're trying to go after all these players who have high energy. That's what we're trying to get at. And at the end of the day,
my biggest fear with him would be the amount of moaning and complaining he would do at our players who are really bad at the final pass, you know how much Ronaldo would moan at them, and then everyone would hate him. Do you know what I mean? Because he would just he would rightfully so moan at them. Don't get me wrong. Of course, he should moan at them because he's one of the best. He's probably the best finisher the game has ever seen, right? So of course he would be annoyed if he doesn't get the ball properly, and understandably so. But it would still not be good for the dressing room, would it? If he complains at everyone all the time.
No. And I think at the end of the day, if you end up getting this unhappy player, who's the board going to pick? Are they going to pick one of the best players ever? They're going to pick Tuchel. At this point, I think it's 50-50, but I would probably say they'd pick Ronaldo over Tuchel. And I don't want Tuchel to go.
Tuchel gets all the power now, bro. There's no way Tuchel would have to say yes to Ronaldo.
If we did sign Ronaldo, Tuchel wouldn't have all the power. So that kind of
I guarantee you, if we got Ronaldo and Tuchel didn't work, and it didn't work with Tuchel would be gone, not Ronaldo. I guarantee you that. Well, actually, I don't because it's a little later.
Ronaldo would just leave.
Yeah, it's a little later. Yeah, he's a little old.
Well, it's
everybody's
not anyway. So
obviously, if Pice is obviously 100% spot on. If we theorize that Tuchel would want Ronaldo, then Pice is right. Then it wouldn't be a case of anyone would try to undermine Tuchel. I agree with Pice then, but I just couldn't see a reality in which Tuchel would ask for Ronaldo. That's all I'm saying. But anything you wanted to add to that, Clutch? I don't think you have. Otherwise, you wouldn't have muted yourself. So, Charlie, let me take it to you. Otherwise, just shouting, Clutch. Why would you have wanted Ronaldo? Like, why don't certain issues? Why aren't they big enough for you as they maybe are for others?
It's Ronaldo, isn't it? You know, as Pi said, you know, there's certain players that you just don't say no to. Like, if Messi was suddenly available to come to Chelsea, like, would we really, in our heart of hearts, be like, nah, we don't fancy this? Like, there's certain players like Messi, like Ronaldo, like maybe Neymar, maybe not as much as those two, but, you know, you just, even if it doesn't fit the system, even if it might bring problems, just imagine Ronaldo playing every week at Stamford Bridge, or like all the Ronaldo shirt, like a Chelsea shirt with Ronaldo on the back. You know, at the end of the day, like, yes, for commercial reasons, probably off-pitch activities is probably going to be more beneficial. But just as a fan, it's kind of like, when was the last time Chelsea had like a genuine footballing, like, superstar, you know,
well,
at the club? Yeah, maybe Hazard. That's probably the only one you could say. Like, Ronaldo is like on a different planet compared to Hazard, really, if we're being honest about it. Yeah. But I think it'll just be phenomenal to see. But I get the point that, you know what, like, yeah, it might not fit the system, it might cause a few problems, but it's Ronaldo at Chelsea. I mean,
back when Juve signed him, I would have said yes, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of time has passed since he went to Juve.
It's not happening, but yeah, I guess it's hard, as Pi said, it's hard not to get caught up in the sort of the emotion of it, I guess, and think like, fuck, Ronaldo at Chelsea. But then I suppose if you sat back and took a more rational look at it, I'll probably still say yes, but I can understand that, you know, it would potentially bring issues, but he would definitely score goals. And even if it was just for 1 year, it would just be unbelievable to see.
That is fair. Thiago Silva is a superstar. Yeah, but not like a Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar superstar.
Silva's an icon. He's not a superstar. He's a football icon.
Yeah, but it's still in a different kind, like more as an appreciated for just.
Like, he's one of the best centre backs of all time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. But no centre back will ever be a star like a Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar, Hazard. Like that, like a centre back can't be that.
Star is more attributed to attackers, I think.
Yeah,
like
you can be an iconic centre back, like, I don't know, John Terry or Thiago Silva. I don't know, bloody Maldini, Nesta, whoever you want. Baresi, iconic, but they're still not superstars the way Ronaldo and Messi are. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. Now, someone said, can we talk about the Sergej Milinkovic-Savic report? Now, Pice, is there a new report on Sergej Milinkovic-Savic
it's just
that we haven't spoken about since last week?
No, it's this ITK account on Twitter. It's called Insider Lazio. He keeps banging on about Chelsea in contact with Savic, and he put a thing out this morning saying that it's looking likely and that the money on Chelsea side's okay, but Literally no one, apart from this guy, has said anything. No one, no Chelsea sources, no Italian sources, no nothing. It's just him. So, but he keeps going on about it. So I don't know.
Hey, if he gets it right, fair play to him. But
yeah, he's a god if he gets it right. And he keeps telling me, trust me, I have, Lazio sources. You'll see. So I don't know. There's nothing really to talk about apart from that account. Yeah.
Mail Grimes, bloody hell. Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we spoke about Milinkovic-Savic in quite a bit of detail last week. So if you really want to know what we think about that, TA, go back to last week's stream. And on the way out, subscribe and smash the like button. But let's talk about our centre-back situation. Because now, and Pies can confirm this in a second whether I'm reciting this correctly or not. Obviously, we spoke about it last week as it had kind of just come out that we are trying to do this. This swap deal or player plus cash deal with Juventus for Matthjis De Ligt, and we're giving them, like I say, Timo Werner plus cash. Now, I'm not sure if it was an official bid. Probably not. We would have had more about that. Apparently, they want more than we were initially talking about, where it was like, 30 million euros plus Werner, and they want more than that. Now, Pies, can you even confirm whether that's come from anyone reliable, that they would actually be given the okay for Werner? I forget who said it again, that apparently they would be okay with it.
Nathan did. Nathan
said...
was
it Nathan? Well, there you go.
Yeah, he said they really want Werner. They like him. Werner would be open to taking a wage cut, apparently, according to his information. There's also another Juventus journalist that I'm following. I think Nazar's retweeted him. Romeo Agresti, he works for Goal. All the Juve fans trust him. He's got like 200k followers. He said about 20 minutes ago that Juventus also have other Chelsea players they like, and they'll be involved in the discussions. They're going to put forward some Chelsea player names as well as Werner that could be involved in the deal, and they're going to wait for Chelsea's response. So I think this one's going to develop as the course of the week, goes on. But I think Sterling, just seeing all over my Twitter now, there's so many briefs coming out that we've talked to City today, bid expected soon. So I reckon that bid's going to go in possibly even tomorrow. I think if you contact City today, then what are you waiting for? The next thing is to bid. So yeah.
There you go. And I mean, we've spoken about it again last week, but I will give both Clutch and Charlie the chance to speak about it. But very amusing comment by Theo M here. Just giving them Werner with nothing in return is a win for Chelsea. And mate, I don't even disagree. Indefinite with the super chat, appreciate it very much, mate. Saying interest FC is all we will be this summer. Todd is yet to make a signing. This is not the NBA/MLB, and we will fall behind because of it. Now, I agree with you that I think we should have made a couple of signings by now. But I can also explain to you why we haven't. Because the one transfer that we were actually close to, Jules Kounde, apparently, turns out, our manager doesn't actually want that much. And only Marina and Cech, especially Marina, wanted him. Now Marina's gone, so now we're not, according to Matt Law, Jules Kounde is not top priority anymore. So that's why we haven't made a signing. Had we just... Because now everybody else we're trying to sign now, we need to do all the groundwork again from new. Certain bit of scouting, certain background research on them, like how is their family, how do they behave in the group, like all these kind of bits of background research that isn't just available via data and scouting a player, watching them play throughout the season, watching videos and stuff. All this extra work that needs to be done. Well, we're obviously a bit late to because it took till Boehly was in. We were obviously sanctioned before, so weren't officially at least allowed to do things like those. If anyone caught us asking questions like that, we might have been in trouble. Who knows? So maybe we were on the safe side of things. Now, if obviously say we're in early or mid-August and it's still a situation as it is today, hey, bro, then I cannot disagree with you. I cannot agree with you more, indefinite. But I think it's a little, we're still in June. It's a little bit early to call it this drastically, in my opinion. But let me go with you, Charlie. What do you think of, De Ligt? And what do you think of the idea of giving them Werner? Like I told you on your channel, I think. I'm a big fan of it. I'm all for it. Please do. Do it yesterday. For like it.
Yeah, mate, first things first, De Ligt, really like him. I think he's a fantastic player. We all saw him we're all made aware of him in that Ajax side's run to the Champions League semi-finals. Captain, leadership's phenomenal. He's a great talent. He's still only 22 years of age as well. I think it's a bit of a myth.
It's crazy, by the way. He's the same age now as Trevor Chalobah was last year when he broke into the first team.
Exactly. I think how much more experience he's got. as well. Look, I'm not going to pretend that I've watched Serie A every week because I haven't, but De Ligt has not done as badly as some people might make you out to believe that he's not been that good in Serie A. Look, okay, maybe he might not have lived up to certain people's expectations, but he's been by no means bad.
Just in his
Obviously,
first season, he didn't get so much game time. Was kind of the
because obviously Chiellini and Bonucci were sort of ahead of him. Now, obviously, Chiellini's gone. He's gone to LA with Bale. But I mean, I think it's a good signing. And as I said to you when we spoke, mate, this idea of swap deals is obviously it's more of an American sport thing for sure. But
hey, if we can make it a thing, we have a lot of swaps to be doing. So
I mean, you can obviously it's not as popular in football. You do see it sometimes, but I think it's a smart thing to try and go with. Yes, you've obviously got to get the permission of the player you're trying to swap that he's okay and wants to go, and that the other team obviously also want that player. It seems like Juve are okay to have Werner. I think Werner is sort of all right of going to Juventus, so that could work there. But I also think what I like about the swap deals in general as well is that we've got a bloated squad. We've got a lot of players that we need to get rid of. And I think we're realising now that we're going to struggle to get rid of a fair amount of these players on an outright sale. So if we can, do cash and exchange for something that we need and it lowers the amount of money that we need to pay for someone whilst getting rid of something we don't want, then I'm all for that. It makes sense from a business perspective. And I think De Ligt is one of the most exciting centre-halves in Europe. Same age roughly as Jules Kounde. I mean, yes, okay.
Even younger, actually.
I think he might be, it could be a year or so younger. Yes, all right, he's not versatile like Kounde in terms of could play on the right-hand side. But I think in a back four, if we switch to that, he's probably better suited than Kounde. I think he can play multiple...
Actually, he has the versatility advantage over Kounde that he's probably more comfortable on the left of a three.
Yeah, yes. And that's what I was going to come on to, mate. He can play all positions across the back three. So it makes sense. And it's clear that it's Tuchel's priority target. Obviously, he's not against Kounde, but I think that was more, I guess, Marina driving that rather than Tuchel. But I mean, at the same time, though, mate, I mean, I wouldn't be against either of them. But it's just frustrating when you see which Kounde should have been done last summer, and then you see he's not really the top defensive target now. And we've just been fucking about wasting so much time over Kounde.
I let them run, right, as an excuse or as a reasoning for this is De Ligt wasn't available last summer, right? So if you then prefer someone like De Ligt, fair enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
last summer, different players are available than this summer. But
we've seemingly just wasted
anyway.
Yeah, but we seemingly wasted so much time. If we really wanted, if we really wanted Kounde, we'd have got it done last summer. And if we still really wanted him this summer, which a few weeks ago that was the case, then why is the deal not done? Why is Kounde not done? And the Chelsea
probably
player,
because Tuchel didn't want him so much.
He probably doesn't want him that much. He's happy to have him, but he probably doesn't want him that much. And that's why, you now see other alternative names on the list, like Nathan Ake appearing on the list and stuff, because those are more Tuchel targets rather than say Marina or club targets. But I mean, De Ligt, I'd definitely like to have. And if Juve are happy with that swap deal, I mean, I don't know where Werner fits in for them. They got obviously Chiesa coming back from injury. It looks like Di Maria is going to sign a 1-year deal there. Pogba's going back there.
I would assume next to Werner.
Maybe instead of quite possibly. I mean, I'm sure there's potentially space for him there, and it's a big football club, and I'm sure
Werner's actually half decent for Juve. So
he's all right. I mean, I think Werner would fit in there. I mean, they wouldn't take him.
Get Morata.
No, I don't think they got him. Oh, and Dembele.
He went back.
And Dembele's going as well. He's Atletico Madrid still.
Yeah, they loaned him. He's been on loan for the last 5 years to 3 different.
It's one of them 2-year loan things.
Yeah, but isn't his Atletico contract now done?
I don't know.
Didn't they loan him until the end of his Atletico contract?
Well, I remember reading a month ago that Juve had no reason to go back in for him, because they were talking about him wanting to go back.
I mean, maybe they don't want to extend him, I suppose. But I mean,
I'll look into it. Give me a second.
I feel like we would know about it if he was a free agent this summer.
Yeah, I don't think he's not a free agent. I don't think so. But also, Dybala's left Juve as well, so there would be space for Werner. So I can see it working. I mean, I think initially we're thinking maybe 25, 30 million euros plus Werner. But I think I've seen things that Pice will be able to say if it's accurate or not. Things perhaps more towards 45, 50 million plus Werner, which I'd probably still take. But any more than that is potentially, I think, taking a piss a little bit.
Absolute
Juventus did
stalemate.
not exercise their option to reloan him. He's going back to Atletico.
Yeah, and he has one more year of a contract.
One more year. And also, as Theo in the chat says here, let's rob Juve because City, remember, they swapped. I forgot about this. They got Cancelo in return for Danilo.
And wasn't it
Mate,
a no
it's mad.
cash swap? Wasn't it just a straight swap?
I don't know if it. I can't remember.
I believe
It was
so.
the biggest robbery I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, mental. Danilo is horse crap, and Cancelo is probably the best fullback in the world. Like in terms of being capable of playing on the left, on the right, doing all sorts of madness, like insane stuff. But yeah, it turns out I had no idea that Morata was back at Atletico. Thank you for informing me, boys. But Clutch, I'll take it to you. De Ligt then. Obviously, we spoke about it in a group chat, but just to inform the people, what do you think of that? And I think we're all happy if Werner gets gone.
I mean, yeah, to that point, I'm not going to be too rude about that. But no, if you remember a couple weeks ago when we were doing streams and we were talking about potential center backs, De Ligt was one of the ones I've always admired because how young he is for the experience he has as being young. He was 19 when he captained Ajax in a semifinal of the Champions League. Like the guy's got experience, so he's the one guy who I think when we talk about we need experience in the back, he's the one guy who I think we can do that, and he fits pretty much every piece of the puzzle, whether it want to be left, center, or right.
I mean, I will also say, not as a captain, but Pau Torres did also make it to a Champions League semi-final. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but not at 19.
No.
And he was also shit in it, so.
Yeah, well, like I said this in the chat the other day. Ajax spotted it in the last 10 minutes and conceded in the 94th minute a hat-trick. But Lucas Moura, whoever has anyone ever conceded a hat-trick against Lucas Moura other than Ajax ever? Like, probably. I think he scored 4 goals in some game. But, do you know what I mean? He was the centre-back in that. So, kind of bottled it, I guess. But I'm not saying it was his fault, of course. But, yeah. I'm just messing about. But go on, Clem, sorry.
And I think if we can have him learn under Thiago Silva, I think that would be extremely helpful to his growth and development, especially with a manager like
Tuchel. Just learn from
knows...
Bonucci and Chiellini as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think especially when you have a manager like Tuchel who has gotten the best out of most center backs that we've seen, if we can even elevate him to even more, I think he will be an absolute superstar for us.
Mate, they was calling all these, all the neutral fans and stuff. When De Jong and De Ligt play for Ajax, bro, they were getting generational shouts. Let's not forget that. Yeah. They've gone to 2 clubs and they've kind of stagnated a bit. And now
De Jong is the only one that actually has looked good since then.
Yeah, De Jong's going for what, 70 million, I think, with add-ons. Like, people are forgetting who these players are. I think it's very, very good players still. It's just,
De Jong and De Ligt are very, very good players.
Yeah, it's just like people obviously, and rightly so, they'll judge on form and things like that. Like, but if we signed De Ligt when Ajax was trying to get him, people would be like jumping off the ceiling. I mean, when Juventus were trying to get him. Yeah. Right, people would be jumping off the ceiling.
100%. Would have also, I can't remember what Juve paid for him at the time, but would have been a bit cheaper for sure.
Wasn't it like, I think it was like 70 million or something, wasn't it?
There you go. Well, I guess that's what they're asking now to some extent. But we're going to try to lower that with Timo Werner. Now, I want to take this. Obviously, I touched on it a second ago with the whole Kounde thing. But I want to get all of your thoughts on this now that this has been more confirmed and now again confirmed by Matt Law today, that he's not a top priority anymore. Now, Paisley, I'll start with you on this one. What do you think of this? Like, because you were a big advocate of getting Jules Kounde, as was Jem and as were a few others that we obviously talk to regularly. My only ever concern with him was that I thought, what if we play a back 4 and it's him and Thiago Silva together? I don't want 2 centre backs that are under 6 foot. That is mental. Well, Thiago Silva is just 6 foot and Kounde is under. I think in the back 4 as a centre back partnership, that's too small. In the back 3, I had no problem with him at all, and I liked him, And the fact that he wants to come to us so badly after what we just experienced with someone like Lukaku would be something I quite enjoy. I like players that actually want to be here and are happy to be here and are excited to be here and are proud to be here. I like those types of players. But if Tuchel doesn't really want him, I'm very confused. What do you think about all of this, Pies?
Pretty much what you've just said. I guess that Tuchel's got more power now. It's come out that Tuchel he's not in his probably top 3 options. I think we're hearing Ake, Kimpembe and De Ligt. So, again, I don't think if we ended up signing Kounde, I don't think Tuchel would be pissed about it. I just don't think he's one of his top targets. And I said
Yeah.
this to people, like, you can have preferences as a coach, but you can still like players that come in. Like, if you can't get your top targets, like
similar. It was kind of like that probably with Lukaku. Like Lukaku wasn't the one.
yeah, like Tuchel obviously liked him at the start, but he was never
asked,
his.
do you want Lukaku? He's like, yeah, go on then. And it's probably like, will you take Kounde? And he's like, yeah, go on. And that's probably what I imagine it's like. But yeah, it's still strange that we would change it so drastically.
It's annoying, bro. I really,
so much background work.
Yeah, I really wanted Kounde, but again, it just goes to show that it was obviously a Marina-led target. Marina was holding negotiations. She was the one who had good contacts with Kounde's agent, and now she's gone. It's like all of a sudden De Ligt has come up, and I guess this has happened in that meeting that Todd had. I think actually apparently he met Tuchel in Ibiza as well, which is quite funny.
There you go.
My manager,
when Lineker in the corner.
Yeah, who do you want, Thomas? While he's partying, just pulls out the centre back names. But
next thing you know, BBC Match of the Day, Gary Lineker with all the transfer news.
Yeah, no, but honestly, like I think I'll be more annoyed depending on who we get. Like if it's like I don't want.
Because that's my follow-up question. Because if it's not,
it's so annoying though.
The second one that you think we're going to go after.
But it's so annoying because at the same time, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't want Kimpembe. I don't really want Ake. I don't really want, Skriniar. I'd much rather have Kounde over all of those. But at the same time, I can't then go. I can't then sit here and moan because I'm one of the people that wants to back Tuchel. And at the end of the day, these are Tuchel targets. So what do I do? Do I just? I don't know. I have to back the manager because that's the stance I took on him. And at the end of the day, he's bringing his players in. And if it doesn't work out, then it's his fault at the end of the day. So, look, I'm guessing my thing is I'm just going to let Tuchel do what he wants to do. And at the end of the day, next season, we'll tell it all whether he was right on these defenders. So, yeah. I'm a big guy.
Say we don't target Kounde as the second alongside.
I think we'll make an approach for Kimpembe. I think PSG will say he's not for sale. But again, there's also.
Are we really going to try Ake after already signing Sterling?
Yeah, I think we might, but I think Ake.
Why not Skriniar over Ake though? That's because Skriniar is also left-footed, by the way. So it would fit it well that De Ligt and Skriniar, you can play Skriniar as the left one, and then De Ligt plays on the right or in the middle. Kind of like De Ligt almost taking Christensen's role from last year, just better, more leadership. But in terms of playing in the middle sometimes when Thiago Silva didn't play, or playing on the right sometimes when Thiago Silva did play, that would kind of fit for the back three. While
I do worry about the lack of pace though in that back three. Not gonna lie, that was.
I don't know really how quick Skriniar is. If I want,
he's not that quick at all. That's the one thing I really wanted Kounde for as well. He's so quick. So,
Ake is quite quick as well, to be fair.
Yeah, Ake is very quick, to be fair. But yeah, I hope the second centre back signing is good. And we may not even get De Ligt, by the way. Who knows? Juventus may just say.
And then even more trouble. Imagine then by the time we come down to Kounde, it's like, actually, boys, fuck you.
I'm going Barca.
For about a year and a half. I've had enough.
I'm going Barca. See you later.
Yeah.
What the hell do we do then? So that's why I think this week is going to be key because we're obviously going to try and get De Ligt this week because we don't want stuff dragging on. Like if we can get him, we can get him. But we've got to sign 2 centre backs, so this has to be sorted out pretty sharpish.
And then we still need to think about wing backs, in my opinion, heavily. Also, I've not even seen any serious rumours for where Alonso could be going. Why have I not heard any rumours?
No, there's been. I think Aspi. We're still waiting for his decision. The thing is with the Aspi one is like Klaus. If Aspi leaves, then we can just activate Klaus's thing in an hour if we wanted to. That's not a problem.
Oh yeah, I forget about Klaus. I still want Klaus. Come on, get him over the line, please.
Yeah, he's 8.5 million.
He just apparently likes Chelsea, so I like players that want to be here. Do you know what I mean?
Again, that's the draw with Kounde as well. More than anything, is because he's desperate to join us. So it just feels like a letdown. The question is
how desperate is he to join us now if he finds out that Tuchel is not actually his biggest fan? Maybe that. Who knows?
Yeah, but I just, how can you tell me that Tuchel has not had any discussions with Kounde? I just don't get that. Like, why would you chase him all this time? Or is then that just goes to show that Marina has her own targets and
Marina has her own targets,
Yeah.
and also that Thomas Tuchel needs to open his mouth a little bit more in certain occasions, in my opinion. I'm like, come on, how can this be? Like, you need to make this clear. If you want somebody else more than Koundé, then tell them. Like, tell them. Like, don't sit there and say, oh, yeah, I wanted Koundé and I wanted Lukaku if you didn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have a mouth. We're a football club that got exploded when we had Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho would not, cover his mouth when he had shit to say. He said shit. I like my manager to say shit when he has shit to say. I don't want him to overdo it and cause problems like Conte did, and like Tuchel maybe to some extent did at PSG when him and Leonardo obviously clashed. Don't go overboard, but it doesn't mean you can't say nothing. Do you know what I mean? But Charlie, let me take it to you. What do you think of all this mess that we were after Koundé for? I mean, you kind of touched on it already, but it's just ludicrous, isn't it?
Well, it just doesn't really make sense, to be honest. Like, as you say, Koundé is desperate to join. We've seen them pictures of him in London. It was almost like he was hanging around waiting for the sanctions to be lifted so he could just go into Stamford Bridge and really unveil himself or whatever. But, I mean, I don't really understand it. Like, as Pi said, surely Tuchel has had some contact with Koundé over the past year or so, because this is not just something that's developed in the last few weeks. These links with Koundé have been going on for a year, basically.
Charlie, I just remembered as well. I just off the top of my head when you was talking about contact, I remember the Athletic article last year. Supposedly Tuchel was selling all the players that Koundé was coming, and it was all pretty much done and everything. But again, they are a board and club mouthpiece, so I don't trust them all the time. But it's just interesting, like you said. Surely Tuchel was spoken to him.
To make up, if not true, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just weird. Yeah, go ahead. What you saying?
It doesn't make sense. Koundé obviously wants to come. Look, he's a top player. He's versatile. He's French international. He'd fit well at Chelsea, and he'd provide cover on that right back slot, right wing back slot, or whatever, if needed. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. We're chasing him. We really want him. We don't get it done because we don't want to pay as much as what Sevilla want. Now we know that Sevilla want like 65 million euros, and we're still not doing anything about it. Now, if Tuchel's kind of, obviously it's not a Tuchel target per se, but he's happy to have him. But I mean, I don't know if we're perhaps thinking this Koundé deal will maybe be easy to do. Let's explore a couple of the Tuchel targets, i.e. Ake and Kimpembe, etc. See how possible that is. And if those aren't really possible, then we'll just fall back and do Koundé. Maybe it's that thinking. But at the same time, Koundé must be getting pissed that, like, hang on a second, do Chelsea really want me? Because they're fucking about and taking ages to put any bids in for me. This is another thing. We haven't put a single bid in for him. Like, it's like nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't know if there's been any kind of sounding out through intermediaries or anything, but there's been no official proposal or bid launched for Koundé since we started getting linked with him over a year ago. So how much do we really want him? I just don't know. It doesn't really make any sense. But obviously, as Fabrizio said yesterday, Chelsea are definitely going to sign 2 centre-backs this summer and assess Colwell in pre-season, as we knew. So if De Ligt is potentially one of them, then I'd like to get Koundé as well. But then you're looking at maybe from the next list down, the Skriniar,
I can't lie. Pi's making that pace argument is a very fair argument.
Yeah,
I don't want to back 3 of Thiago Silva. De Ligt too. Like De Ligt isn't slow. Let's not like he's not slow, but he's not. I would say De Ligt is probably. I wouldn't say it's too different from Christensen pace. So like,
but it's also a good point that you boys made earlier that what if De Ligt ends up being too much money or doesn't want to come, or Werner's actually suddenly not keen on the move, and then we fuck up Koundé and we don't get De Ligt. Then what? We're picking 2 from Kimpembe, Skriniar, and Ake.
And
Kimpembe is probably not even happening because PSG don't want to sell him today.
I was just going to say,
Skriniar is a PSG. Well, like PSG wants Skriniar, so he could, if Kimpembe left, Skriniar might replace him at PSG, maybe.
Go on, Pies.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, Matt Law did say a few weeks ago that apparently we have like an 8-man centre-back shortlist. So they're obviously prepared, but you think the further away you go, like if we mess up these deals, the targets are just not going to get as good. So that's why I said, I think this week, what we've heard today, they're going to try and sort something out for De Ligt, I think, because you can't waste too much time on these centre-backs. You can't. it's impossible. We need to get them through the door. So yeah, and also with the Kounde thing, if Barca's interest is serious, then that probably maybe even hurries the De Ligt deal up even more, because I still think we'll go for him if we don't get, De Ligt and someone else. But yeah, I just think it has to surely hurry this process up.
I hear you. I mean, hey, like you say, maybe it turns out that in the end we get Kounde anyway once we've sounded out certain other things, right? It's one to look at. We'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. I mean, the big reason that I always had against De Ligt previously was always, while we had still hope that Rudiger would say, I'm like, well, why would we go for... I just didn't see the club going for him, in all honesty, because I'm like, well, De Ligt is on 280,000 euros at Juve. That's about 260,000-ish pounds a week. If we offer that Rudiger might stay. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, different ownership now, so maybe different situation. But that's why... But if De Ligt is possible, I'm a fan. I would like Kounde as the other one. I think that would work. I still like... It's weird. Ake as a player, I wouldn't mind. He'd fit perfectly for a left centre back in our system. The problem is it's too embarrassing. We've already embarrassed ourselves too many times with Lukaku and with all these players that just keep flopping for us. We can't do one that we already had and then had a buyback clause and then buy him. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just no. Do you know what I mean? That's my only thing against it. But Clutch, just quickly, what's your thoughts on all this Kounde drama before we finish off with the last topic?
Kind of surprising. I do agree with Pius. If you are going to go for that, you kind of want that player who has that little bit of pace in him. Kounde kind of fits that perfectly, especially if you're going to stick to a back three. I mean, I think a back three of De Ligt, Silva, and then Kounde would be an absolute amazing pairing. I think that it covers each other very well. But also at the same time, who knows what formation we're going to do? We don't know things. We only know what little we have. And obviously in a back four, you do want a little bit pace, but it's not the end-all, be-all. But we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you're going to scout somebody for that long, the manager has to have some say in it, right? And if not, then there's even bigger problems. And like you already said, Tuchel should be saying, hey, look, I don't want this player. But if he's not willing to kick up a fuss about it, like...
Then he can't say in hindsight he didn't want the player.
Yeah, I think that becomes a problem within itself.
That's why I give Tuchel stick for the whole Lukaku thing. Because if you didn't want him, then you should have said so. And if you didn't mind him, then you're not getting an excuse. Essentially, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's the last topic that I quickly want to discuss. Is that Ousmane Dembele news that came out shortly before we started streaming. That apparently, as everyone's kind of aware, he wants to stay at Barcelona, but they are not going to improve their offer. And the only way he will stay with them is if they improve their offer. Apparently, what was it that Jem said? 115,000 euros is what they offered him a week as a base salary. So, I mean, it's all well and good if he wants to stay, but if they can't afford him with financial fair play and the La Liga wage cap problems, and then he becomes a completely free agent, I understand it from a Chelsea perspective. If he kind of still wants to be a Barcelona, and you're confident that Barcelona can't afford to keep him, I understand the logic and the plan of waiting until he officially becomes a free agent, until he's not officially a Barcelona player anymore. Because otherwise he will always have that, but I'd still kind of rather stay here and maybe give them another chance. Once that his contract expires and it's not officially tied to them in any capacity anymore, maybe it makes it, he has less leverage and we have more leverage to not give him stupendous wages, which is probably the biggest holdup in Dembele, I would say. I mean, Pius, would you go along with at least just your reporting side of the story that is the case? And what do you make of it, I guess? Pius?
Oh, I asked him to have cut out there. The stream's gone a little bit laggy. Can you repeat what you said?
Basically,
I heard a bit about Dembele and the wages or something, and then it just didn't load.
Essentially, I just summarized what the situation with Dembele is. You know the situation anyway, so just kind of your reaction to the situation and whether you still think we could make that happen, maybe after his contract expires, just because then it's easier for us, I don't know, leverage-wise, he doesn't have Barcelona anymore officially then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this one is really, really weird because I see 2 points to this. One is like, if we offered him a pre-contract or something, or offered him an official contract, I mean, his agent doesn't have to tell Barca that Chelsea have offered him a contract, but if he wants to stay at Barca, you'd imagine he would. So then that would give time for Barca to make a counter offer. So I feel like Chelsea have just stayed back and not offered him anything until his contract expires. They're waiting to see what happens, and if he doesn't extend, then Chelsea will swoop in. That's my thinking. But at the same time, it's like, would you also not want to show him proper ambition and say, like, we really, really want you here. This is what we're offering. Don't extend with Barca. Like, there's two sides to it. Like, I think Chelsea have taken the first approach, which I just said, which in reality probably makes more sense, I think. And obviously, there's been a bit of reporting of, maybe Chelsea don't. I keep saying Chelsea, but it's really Todd Boehly now and Tuchel. Maybe um, Tuchel has some worries over his injuries, but to be honest with you, like everything we've heard is like Tuchel absolutely loves Dembele. This is his guy, so I don't really understand why Dembele isn't the priority attacker, to be honest with you, and why we're waiting around. I just something doesn't quite add up here to me.
I do agree. Nick Purell, similar apparently to what Nizar has reported not long ago, has reported as well as Raheem Sterling, the Chelsea boss has also thought to want to press interest in both Richarlison and Rafinha. Unlikely to sign all three, but conducting parallel negotiations could accelerate business. Now, I'll just align that with the question about Dembele, Clutch, with Richarlison, with Rafinha, even if Richarlison is slightly different position, to Rafinha and Dembele. What do you make of all these situations? Like, do you still think Dembele could happen if, Barcelona don't improve their offer by, the 30th of June, which is in 3 days? Do you think then it becomes a possibility again? Or do you think it's more going to be one where we're going to be trying for one of Rafinha or Richarlison? And then which one would you prefer? Because I just think Rafinha is a bit too expensive for what he is. Like, the guy's 25 and the highest average player is Leeds. Like, I know he's good, but 65 million for a 25-year-old that's never played any higher than Leeds. I'm not sure, man.
Yeah, and I think what also comes into that is, are we going to play that back three? Because if we're going to play that back three, you sign Sterling. You already have Mount, who will play.
Well, apparently we're flipping one Rafinha as a wingback. Who said that the other day?
David Ornstein said that was what he
was
hearing.
That was mental, by the way. Rafinha as a wingback. Has anyone told Rafinha about this? That's probably why he doesn't want to come.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was playing right wing back for Leeds towards the end of the season, but there's no way. Like, I think maybe I'm not doubting David Ornstein, but he's the best journalist in the world, in my opinion. But maybe as an emergency option or something, but there's no way we would spend that much money to put him at wing back. I'd even want Tuchel out if he did that. That would be just ridiculous. What the flag? I'd be like, Tuchel, what on earth are you doing? Just starting Rafinha right wing back, spending 70 mil. Like, come on, that's ridiculous.
I see Rafinha as kind of a replacement for Ziyech if he leaves. He gives you that same sort of ability.
Or just a trillion times quicker. But
yes, obviously that goes with that. But like I was saying, if we stay in a back three, hopefully he doesn't play wing back, because I don't understand that. That's a $50 million backup wing back.
We don't need Rafinha.
But if he's left-footed, wouldn't he play on the left side? And then you're just
probably
backing up
would,
Chelsea?
So maybe Sod Raum and Sosa and all these Cucurella and Sod all of these. We're signing Rafinha to play left wing back, flip's sake.
But yeah, and so it would be Havertz, Mount, Sterling as a front three, right? So you're basically paying $50 million for a backup player. At that point, I don't think that's worth it. Richarlison is always a no for me. I'm sorry. He's just, I can't believe anybody would want him. Even my best friend who supports Chelsea wants Richarlison, and I can't even speak to him about that. But is Dembele possible? He's always going to be possible as long as he has a contract that can be signed. Do I think it's likely? No, I don't think we'll get him. I do think he prioritizes Barcelona, and Barcelona is just one of those clubs that always seems to find a way in the end. Whatever reason, they always find a way to get who they want. And we'll see. I mean, I would love Dembele to be here, because Dembele is a creator, like we've seen with the stats the other day. The guy just oozes chance creation. and especially since I kind of see Callum Hudson-Odoi as that kind of player, him and Callum Hudson-Odoi meshing together, learning, kind of understanding. I think Callum Hudson-Odoi could elevate himself with Dembele there. But do I see it as a probability? No. I think we'll end up getting Sterling and then probably somebody else.
Pies, can I quickly ask you, how much money is it reported that it would take to get Richarlison?
50 to 60 million, apparently.
That is fucking mental. I'm mental, that is. 60 million? Why are we considering paying 60 plus million for players like him and Rafinha? For players that both nearly got relegated.
One of the Everton sources, I think Finch Farm News, he's quite good. I followed him because obviously the whole Lampard thing. I wanted to see, if he was going to Everton, and followed him ever since. I think he said, I think it was a week ago, he said Chelsea offered cash and a player that was on loan last season. So I think people were saying either Gilmore, don't think it would be Gallagher.
No.
Probably Gilmore, I'd imagine that would have been, but obviously that's not gone into the media.
Could be
But
Anthony,
mate, that's what he was saying that Chelsea had done. But the thing is with me is I see us spending big on Sterling. I don't see us spending big on Richarlison or Rafinha.
Imagine we get Sterling for less money than Richarlison. That's the most ridiculous
I can't see Chelsea. I mean, maybe Rafinha because he's very good, but I don't see us.
Again, he's 25 and not played at any higher level than Leeds.
25 is not
young. Sorry?
He's playing for Brazil.
He's brilliant. I'm jealous.
For the national team or in the Brazilian league?
No, for the national team.
For the national team, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love him, but I'd be jealous if Arsenal got him. But at the same time, I still want Dembele as first.
I think he's a bench player for Brazil, though. I don't think he starts. I think
Brazil never play the same team, though. Apart from Silva and Militao, even then, Marquinhos, they never really played the same team. So
yeah, because obviously their qualies are much shorter because they consist only of 10 teams in the whole continent, right? So it's much easier and quicker to get things done. So they play a lot more of these random friendlies against European teams, like when Argentina played Estonia the other week and Messi scored 5 goals, which is mental. But yeah, there you go. I mean, I was going to ask Clutch if I had to. No, you know what? I will force you. But I thought Richarlison would be a bit cheaper. Let's assume Richarlison is 50 million and assume Rafinha is 65 million. If I forced you to pick between the two, Clutch, which one would you pick?
Does Ziyech stay or leave?
Oh, this is not included in this question.
That very much includes because if Ziyech does leave, then it's Rafinha, easy.
Ziyech will leave anyway, I'm thinking. So
then it's Rafinha.
So then does in your head just no one replace Lukaku? Or do we sign a third player? Because I know you are.
I don't think we're trying,
but I'm really not a fan.
But what happens if Tuchel assesses Broja in pre-season, then we decide to sell him for 35 mil? Then we have to sign a striker.
Yeah,
it's not even a debate. People saying we can't sign 3 attackers, we may well sign 3 attackers.
But that's the only logic why I might say, that's why I wanted Gabriel Jesus rather than Sterling if I had to pick between the two, because then we could have signed Gabriel Jesus, who can be striker and winger, and the winger. And then that fixes all of our attacking problems within 2 players, and we don't need 3, which is kind of unnecessary because if we also lose Werner, who was obviously that mixed position, a bit like Gabriel Jesus would have been, just obviously better, right? That's why I'm thinking, and I guess Richarlison is that. I just think Richarlison is not as good as Jesus is. Also, in terms of experience of actually winning games rather than 2 a season. I mean, but there you go. I mean, Charlie, I know you slightly disagree with myself and Clutch here. You would actually be quite a fan of Richarlison. And like I say, in terms of profile of player, for the logic I just explained, for what we are missing, I understand it as well. I just, again, number 1, too much money. Number 2, I feel like surely we can do better, man, than Richarlison. Everton players, come on. Next thing we're going to sign Jordan Pickford.
I mean, maybe we can do better, but I can see why we're linked
is miles clear for Richarlison, in my opinion.
But I think in terms of profile we're looking for, if obviously we know Lukaku's gone, Broja, I'd be very surprised if he stayed, given what he supposedly said about wanting guarantees of regular game time. He's not going to get that at Chelsea this season, so. like if we get rid of Brozier as Paisley, we are going to need to bring in some sort of centre forward. So we could end up bringing in 3 attackers. But Richarlison for me kind of fills 2 spots, doesn't he? He can play 9 and he can play in off down one side as well. Yes, 50, 60 million is a lot. You know, he's got 2 years left on his Everton contract. You know, if he wants to leave Everton, I think that's clear. If Everton are going to get decent money for him, this is their opportunity to do it. I think we could potentially get that fee down by including a player, maybe a Billy Gilmore, maybe a Brozier, you know, someone like that potentially. Lampard obviously likes a lot of the Chelsea players. If we could include someone in that to bring the fee down a little bit, I wouldn't be
maybe
against
Brozier
that.
Would actually make sense in that context because they're losing a striker. So
yeah, well,
I don't want to lose Brozier for Richarlison. Like that would piss me off a little.
What about? Would you be happy to use Brozier as part of the Declan Rice deal?
Yeah, but that never happened anyway. Like people say this all the time. West Ham, he is their biggest asset. Like they don't care enough about Brozier.
The way I see it, guys, it wouldn't be a direct, like they wouldn't be included in each other's deals. But if they want Brozier, we'll just tell them, well, we'll give you Brozier, but only if you give us Rice.
No, West Ham are spending money as well at the moment.
That's kind of how I see it, rather than that it will be like a Werner De Ligt situation where it's kind of including a swap. I just think it's, you know, doing each other.
I wouldn't be against Richarlison. I mean, I do like Rafinha as well, but I just think, I don't know. I just think for £65 million, I think that's a bit pricey for him.
But then if Richarlison is 60, then I might just prefer Rafinha because I think he's a better player.
All right. If there's 5 million between them, then maybe I'd prefer Rafinha. But if we're looking at 50 mil plus 65, I think I'd rather have Richarlison for the versatility.
Mate, can I just say, this is like credit to Leeds, by the way, for scouting this player because this is the exact situation. Like people moaning about price, right? Like last year, I mean, even now, to be fair, we obviously scouted Mendy. Like no one really knew about him that much. Same with Rafinha. Like both played for Rennes, right? If someone came to us now and they were like, you know, we want to buy Mendy, Chelsea would be doing the same. They'd be like, no, he's one of our key players. You know, 70, 80 million at least. You know what I mean? That's what
we're a much higher level than Leeds, though.
I know, but when you have these assets at a club that are, you know, one of your most important players and you've scouted them, people can't really moan at the price, in my opinion. Like, it's expected. It's
no, we can't moan at the price, but we can say no to the price. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, I saw a lot of people saying, oh, you know, why are they demanding, like, not on the stream, just in general. It's come to my head again. Like, oh, I've seen people say, why are they demanding so much? Like, he's their best player. Like, what are you, they scouted this guy. They bought him for cheap. Of course, they're going to try and get a huge profit. Like, you know what I mean? Same Chelsea would do the same with Mendy because that was a scouted signing, you know?
There you go. I mean, you're not wrong with that sense. And it's also like, I mean, there is obviously a big difference between outfield, especially winger, attacker, that to goalkeeper. It's a bit different, but still, I mean, I do see the point. I just think, I don't know.
There's not a lot of wingers out there.
If you Leeds, is your player really that good? Like, sure, Leeds can ask whatever they want. I'm not like, that's probably, if they decide that's how much you need, that's how much he's worth to you, essentially. That's how much it would require you to let him go. Fair enough. I just think it's a bit too much money. But, I mean, someone says he starts for Brazil most games and is very good. Fair enough. But, I mean, Fred started the world. Not this Fred. The old Fred. The striker Fred. Remember 2014 World Cup when their striker was Fred? Some random ass striker that's never played anywhere other than Brazil. Sometimes players that play for Brazil aren't necessarily always the best players, right? I'm not saying that's the case for Rafinha. I'm just saying you can't just say, oh, he played for Brazil. Hence what needs to mean he's amazing. It's not always like that. But anyway, let's finish it off with the super chat by Def, and I appreciate it very much. Like I did earlier, says, why do we wait? That is my point. Get deals done. We need to splash the cash and improve our risk. Improve or risk becoming a mid-table club. It is simple. Now, I agree we need to improve. Risking becoming a mid-table club is if we don't get things done by August. Until then, we don't risk that part. But, yeah, I mean, we are trying to get deals done, though. Like, it seems like, you know, we're literally, the starting thing is literally going to happen now. I mean, Lukaku is apparently going to be announced on Wednesday to be leaving. And let's see what happens with this De Ligt situation. So we are in the process of doing exactly what you wanted, definitely. But again, like I said to your super chat earlier, if we're in a similar situation in a few weeks' time, then I will 100% agree with you, essentially. But boys, I don't think we missed any other big pieces of news. Pies, otherwise just tell me, or any of the other boys if you remember one, obviously. So I think it's a good time to round this out. Let's leave it again for this week. Again, I will try to throw in the second one. Probably only going to see you again next Monday. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, please do subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to Charlie. His link is down in the description. The Blues Brothers. Like I say, just click the @ down in the description. Takes you to his channel. And subscribe to him. Help him get to 600 subscribers, which is getting ever closer to. And please follow Pice, of course, on Twitter and check out his website, ChelseaFC365.com. And of course, please do follow my guy, Clutch. Boys, thank you for coming on as always. And ladies and gentlemen that are watching, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you all very much. Up to Chelsea. Up to Thomas. Let's hope we can get some signings done. And maybe we'll see you next Monday with some transfer news to talk about. I ruined my own intro. But hey, it works.